Why are people always trying to impose their ideas of everything on everybody else? Just because you define certain things a certain way does not necessarily mean that I have to define it the exact same way that you do. But I talked about how the Mesopotamia is not the cradle of civilization. And yet there are those who came back, and one person was saying, why are you trying to steal our history? I'm not trying to steal your history. He was Iranian. Nobody's trying to steal your history. It's just admitting and recognizing that other people had civilizations prior to and at the exact same time that the Mesopotamian civilizations began to sprout out, as far as the ones that people will actually, most people say, is a civilization. Now, everybody has their own criteria. This young person said, you don't know what the term civilization means. I know what it means for me. It doesn't have to mean the same thing for you. Your criteria may not match my criteria. And you know what? That's okay. They don't have to match. He said it means a stationary, cohesive society with a written language, a system of taxation, a system of laws, and agriculture. There were lots of places that developed agriculture or constructed huge monument, but those were either hunter-gatherer societies or didn't stay in one spot. Oh my God. Okay, dude. If you are developing agriculture, you stay in one spot. You cannot develop agriculture and then move. Because agriculture is you farming. Show me a farmer who picks up their farmland and move ever so often. They don't. They don't move season to season. They don't move with the herds. They stay, they plant, they grow. And you're admitting that other cultures had, that I talked about in my thing, when you looked at Adam's calendar in the southern Sahara, the Indus Valley, they had agriculture. So therefore they had people who stayed in one spot. They didn't move. They had a language. Now you're saying a written language and trying to be specific, but that's disingenuous. It is not that they had a written language, because many civilizations that you talk about in Mesopotamia didn't have a written language, but you can have a spoken language, a language that they all agree upon, a way of communicating. It is not written. It is just the fact that they have a methodology, a systematic way of communicating. That is all the language that they need. A system of taxation. You don't have to have taxation. Not every government, every society has taxation of the people in order to claim that they were a society. When the Akkadian society first came about, civilization with Emperor Sargon, initially he did not have any forms of taxation whatsoever. He didn't. Then he developed forms of taxation thereafter, but he was already a civilization before he actually had taxation on the people, because they were conquering and building so much that they didn't need any taxation. The king would take what he wanted from those that he conquered. All right? So you didn't need taxation. But taxation is not a way of saying, oh, you're only civilized if you have taxation. If the government's taking your shit, then you have civilization. That is very messed up way of thinking there, sir. All right? And you admit that in your own statement, that they had huge monuments, that they had city-states. The Aztecs, the Mayans had city-states. And we're finding out more and more through LiDAR technology that the Mayans had much larger city-states than people realize, than they have ever discovered before. And then you have to think about this. Every civilization is built on top of another civilization. So we don't even know what's below, or what was there before the Mayan civilization in its true earnestness. We don't know. So it could have been something greater. All right. And then you say that the Egyptians followed the Sumerians. No, they did not. They both came up in relatively at the exact same time. At the exact same time. All right. And you're saying that same thing for the Indus Valley. We know the Indus Valley was there at the same time as the Sumerians and everybody else. But what you call a civilization, as long as there is a people group, I don't have to have a certain number. I don't have to be 1 million or something like that. As long as there is a people group who gather together and build and decide that they're going to stay together with a common language, and they build a society together. It doesn't matter what their laws are. It doesn't matter if there's a king or if there's a chief, or if they have parliaments and Congress and all that sorts of things. They decide to live together, build together, had common languages, had common rules that they live by. That is a civilization, sir. You don't have to have everything that Western culture has determined that you have to have in order to be a civilization. That is you wanting to promote a certain region to make that the harbinger of civilization. And I didn't even go into the pre-civilizations that more than likely that archaeologists are finding that were in existence prior to the Younger Dryas period. that the Younger Dryas period caused a worldwide collapse of societies, whether it be Atlantis, whether it be the Bahama, and the Bahama region, where we know that that island was much bigger and they had roads and other constructions, other lifestyles. So there must have been a civilization in the Bahamas prior to the Younger Dryas period, which would put them before Mesopotamia. I didn't even go into the pre-Younger Dryas societies that more than likely existed. I just started after the Younger Dryas. So we don't even know how many civilizations were here prior to that. So you can have your definition. If you want to stunt your mind with that information, then go right ahead. That's up to you. I don't really care. But I go deeper, I go farther. And remember, as always, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.